practice time. At the time we mentioned that abstract class actually didn't implement any mechanism in order to override in the subclass, right? So so at the time we also mentioned the abstract class. It is kind of partially implemented class. It's not 100%. It's possible to, they can be less than 100%. For example, they has a, for example, they has a 4 function in the abstract class, but instead of there is a 3 function already has implementation. It means the 3 functions already has mechanism, but one of them still didn't implement yet. So the still didn't implement it, this part. I mean, of course, there's a less than, it's of course, it's kind of 20%, 25% of the implementation didn't implement it yet. So it's not the full implemented class, but we call it that abstract class. Now the abstract class very similar with the concept, very similar with interface. Interface is 100% abstract. What does means it is included those method inside the interface. It is 100% didn't implement yet. It means just only the definition, just only the they only define the function name, parameters, return type. That's it. There's no any kind of mechanism inside in the interface. So it is 100% abstract. In other words to say. So what we learned today, we trying to learn today, of course, using the interface. Then also we mentioned the where the interface will be used in the real world, in the programming or whatever the IT industry, right? In the programming career or engineering stuff. Actually, there is a following stage you must be used interface. For example, they model business problem by using interface. What does means model business problem? Usually, if you remember, if you are a little bit concept of business is not business details is not fixed, because business is all the time, they will be changed all the time, because while you have a competition between the company to company or between individual to individual, so they has a business strategy. Of course, they have a business privacy. It means they have a something very important included in the product or whatever the working process. They have a get advantage in the whole business process, right? So what does means in the business problem is actually the business as maintainable, as changeable as possible. It means they all the time they trying to improve the business process, they improve the product. So it means if your system designed like that, it's easier to changeable, easier to adaptable, it is good system. If not, you will be harder to adapt in the short time, compete with your competitor, right? So it means in the real world we have a problem that we needed to, while you design the class, while you design system, the system should be easier to modelable, it's easier to maintainable, easier to changeable. So in order to do that, while you creating the system as a software engineer, as you, right, you needed to, if you used interface, it means you working with very abstract level. While you working abstract level, it means you can able to change it in the your sub implementation. So basically, interface can be used as a standard. While you have some standard, you know, they can define as an interface, right? So it's one kind of a little bit, you know, a little bit general description of the what is interface would be related to business model. So of course, defining a Java interface, of course, in term that the programming level, they have a grammar, of course. As I said, there has a keyword as I mentioned, the keyword. This is interface being called interface. Of course, interface must be implemented. They used the inheritance feature. Of course, they actually interface one of the creating the way that superclass, just like creating the superclass the way that different way creating the superclass, which is using the interface. Then you will be extended in the subclass. Then you will be implemented more details. Of course, as you say, while you have a one standard, there is a implementation of the standard shouldn't be one. There is a many type of standard. So it is depend on your requirement, depend on your clear business logic. You will be choose which ones are very suitable for your requirement. Then you can able to choose one of them, right? Then finally we will be mention a little bit about design pattern, but I don't expect you have to understand the design pattern. But what I'm trying to say that the interface already applying this design pattern in this DAO pattern. So we can use this real world example trying to explain it, but I'm not expect you can understand. Don't worry. You don't necessarily to understand what is DAO pattern. You will be learning in the third course if you choose one of the elective course being called the design pattern. At that time you can learn it. It's also fine. But so far you just needed to understand what's the interface means. Then the interface can be used with some design pattern, which is not only the DAO pattern. What I'm trying to mention it. Okay, so let's start. First of all, of course, what is the importance? Then of course they say easier to maintain. Of course, this is kind of very general description. They say that they describe the first one is easier to maintain. I'm trying to explain later on, but first of all, it's kind of when you define interface, so you don't necessarily to do any kind of implementation. So whatever you can use it in the superclass, so you can just using the definition, but implementation is can be changeable all the time, just kind of plug in, plug out. So as long as your implementation is wrong, then you just throw it in the you can take it another kind of stable implementation. So it is very in the standard level, your interface can be defined as an interface. I mean, interface sometimes integration level, sometimes being called user graphic interface, doesn't matter. All the time interface can be useful. While you're using as an interface, I mean, this should be good because you don't necessarily to change actually the interface, but the implementation you can replaceable, because all the time you cannot expect that the implementation should be correct 100 times, no error, no bug, no. So sometimes it's some of them, some implementation is good, then you can choose it, improve your quality, your package or your system. So it's good. Give example that, for example, here's the implementation substitution is that, for example, in the Java, in the Java.sql, the package actually defined of many database related interface. So what that means is in the Java level, they already defined one work with the database related to interface already defined. So after that, of course, you know that in database, not only one of the two, you can find the database 100 different kind of database. As you know, we know that, for example, maybe you already heard about that MySQL database, you already heard about Mongo database, you already heard about that Microsoft SQL database, maybe you already heard about that something rational database, maybe you heard about that IBM's of the DB2 database. This was a very famous database. Oracle also has a database, but it is a I mentioned it around five seven of database, but actually such kind of product in the industry there's too much. So maybe 100, maybe a dozen or 50. I don't know actually. I just used several of them, but I don't necessarily to learn all of them. It's not possible. But what's the problem I'm trying to say here is that for example, Java.sql, this level, and the Java programming package level, they already defined what's the database interface, but it is already defined as a standard, defined as an interface level. It's no any kind of implementation. So while using the different kind of database, you can choose, maybe somebody would like to choose MySQL implementation, somebody like to choose IBM Oracle implementation, not IBM DB2 implementation. Oracle is another database. So you cannot force the individuals, you cannot force the software engineer choose which kind of database you have to work with or store the information. So that's the reason they decided to just define the standard interface. Then implementation you can choose by depend on business requirement. So this is very democratic, very friendly, free to choice. So based on your technical skill, you can choose any kind of database. So it's very good choice to implementing your application if you already defined the interface. So this is an example of already defined in the JDK, as I am trying to explain. Then also final one is a division of labor. What that means is it's kind of boundary when you define it as an interface. It's natural way to define the boundary between the different layer. For example, in the UI, if they used already interface, it means somebody who just focused on design, somebody who just focused on in the back end, or just focused on maybe in the business logic, or somebody who just focused on in the back end in the work with the actually database or something like this. So it is also give advantage of separating the different type of labor. I mean, UI designer, business engineer, back-end developer, just like that. Or maybe, a front-end developer. That's the reason if you using the interface, it's very good, chance to using the, improve the, system quality of the design. Okay. How about Java interface? As you said, Java interface is very similar to abstract class, but it is 100% abstract. As long as you just understand that's enough. Let's give the example. As I said, interface has a keyword being called interface. That's interface. As long as you say the interface, it means just imagine that the inside of the class must be 100% didn't implement it, 100% abstract. You say there is a being called electronic device, being called interface. Then the method is didn't implement it. There is a two method, and they will be implemented in the future in the subclass, right? So another things I'm trying to mention is there must be public. If not public, you cannot. Of course, you can do it. Not public, you can do it at last not private. It's not, you cannot do the private. If you do it the private, no way to you can implement it the mechanism. Mostly they will be used public, but you can do it protected. It means the interface just only service your service your direct subclass. Others cannot. Then there is a subclass implemented from the interface. They must be used the keyword implement this. If you remember, extend from the class, they used another keyword being called extends, right? It is different. Interface used to implements. Okay, this is second one. So there is a, as you say, there is a, curl bracket already opened it. As long as they didn't put anything, but actually they at last they has empty, right? At last the function is functioning. So that's good. So that's the example of how Java create this interface, but doesn't matter any programming language, they has the concept. Another thing is one exceptional thing is that in the interface cannot include interface cannot create any instance. It means you cannot new the interface, but they can include it some kind of constant variables. For example, inside interface you have for example the warning do not open, something like for example there is a just defined one constant. They defined final and static y in order to access directly. This is a legal way to you can include it, but other than they cannot include anything else in the function. Of course, by the way, it's as a superclass interface can be a reference type. For example, television is a subclass you can assign to electronic device. Even this is interface, that's fine. But you cannot new electronic device because interface there is 100% abstract, so you no way to implement it. But here's so you can but there is things that you only can call it return on, turn off, turn off, but you cannot call the channel changes this function because it's not being included in the interface. But it is a change channel, it's actually is implemented in the subclass, so it should be you will be faced compile error. And then I just want to mention a little bit about UML. UML is Universal Modeling Language, being called UML. It's kind of using the UML to describe your relationship between the interface to implementation. So as long as this triangle and the line dash line, they represent this is the interface. Of course, this is another kind of flag that this class is interface, but when you say this is dash, you can immediately think that okay, this is superclasses must be interface, so must be implementation. This is a class, okay? It's one that of course as I know, there is a serializable. This is one of the interface in the java.io serializable. You don't necessarily to understand what's serializable. Basically, actually they trying to, you know, send the object between the server to server. The object must be serializable. So that's interface. Here's the person implemented interface, but there is no any implementation. Then the person can be, you know, using this things. Then they you can check it. This is whether the serialized or not. You can do that way. It's also fine, because this is a one that the superclass inherited to subclass, right? This is one feature that the superclass can inherit to subclass. And of course, while you using the instance of, you know, they can distinguish between the class to class, but you can, you know, even you can doing the casting, you know, if you remember, object is, you know, all of the root of the old class, right? This is a universal class. All of the any Java class, any Java object can be inherited from that. So if you some class want to using in the universal way, that object is good. Then you can send it any object, and after that you can casting it. Then that's fine. For example, actually you send a television to as a, you know, television. I mean television. TV. Television is subclass of the electronic device, but the parameter can be used more abstractly. This is kind of any object can be sent of them. Then you can using the instance of the, you can identify the what is exactly sent object, instead of maybe you can send it the integer. Then at the time say, hey, it's not this electronic device. Then you don't necessary to casting it, but now you can casting it, then even call it. But actually you cannot send it electronic device, because electronic device not instanceable. But you can send it as a television. Television, of course, it's subclass of the object, and then also subclass of the electronic device. Then of course they can casting to your superclass. They limited only access in the superclass of the feature of function. So that's fine. The two implementation, that one is interface here, one is actually implementation. So it is a same class, right? Same class implementation, but this is a implementation that's interface. So which one is good? Actually, this one is good. Why? Because nobody sure that implementation can be stable, or nobody sure that the implementation can be, you know, 100% stable or feasible in your current situation. Maybe you want to change in the future. You want to change another new kind of implementation, but in this case, you have to do it all. You have to not only the change interface as well as implementation. And that one, you don't necessarily to change your interface. You don't necessarily to change your between the connection, the boundary. You only change the implementation, just like you just plug in off, then you plug in. That's very useful in the using the implementation. And then of course another thing is that you can use class and interface same time. For example, this is if you do it the extend base car. This is base car as a class, then extend from the ambulance car. Then also they extend from the motorized boat as an interface. It's also legal. You know, you can implement it not only the one. You can implement it. You can inherit from the many interfaces possible. You know, it is interfaces. In the class, only one class can be inheritable, but in the interface you can inherit from the many interface. So you can miss this, two of them is interface. Even you can implement it another interface also fine. So it means you can implement it, you can implement it many interface, it's legal, it is okay. But only you can only extend from class. By the way, class first, extend first, that's a class. Then you also can implement that interface. It is kind of combination of using the class concept and the interface together. It's possible. You can do that. For example, here is another kind of example. You defined one interface, then there is another interface actually extend from the new interface, right? So this is new interface actually extend from the another interface. So you can using the extend, that's fine, from one interface to another interface between the, you can give the link of the between the superclass and subclass, but the superclass then subclass both are interface, that's okay, you can do that. Then but another thing is that of course this class, this is a class that you want to, you can implement same time the interface, many interface, or you can extend from the one class. That's a typical way to you all the time using. Now we also can using this graphic way to explain, I mean using the UML to explain. UML is kind of one of the modeling language, universal, it's being called UML is universal modeling language, right? So it is using it's trying to explain as a graphic way. So you can say that this is interface because it's a dash line. You also can check it this one. Then also between this one is inheritance. You must be say that they between them, even the interface, they can use it extend this, right? But this one they will be used extend this, that this one is implements. So it means this is a class, this is interface. Actually they use this interface. Then this class is they actually is start from the interface, but this car is the class. So it is kind of combination of interface and class. You just think about that. So definitely if you're using dash, you think that this is interface of implementation. If you're using the line link up between the class to class, you think that this must be used with the extension. Okay. There's a cues that a class can implement multiple interface. Of course, we already said, so it is true. Now we have a little bit time. I think it's around 7 minutes. We can. I'm trying to. It is a not. It's kind of. It's kind of advanced topic for you. It's unnecessary to understand, unnecessary to challenge yourself. But if you understand, you will be get advantage. You will be more. You will be left yourself in the a little bit bigger layer, bigger level of your understanding programming and design. So what is a design pattern and interface about? What kind of relationship? Actually, there has a keep remember one statement. It's already been widely recommended in all the engineering and science. Program to interface, not an implementation. Now, what does means? So it means whenever you design, whenever you create that application, first define its interface. Don't try to directly write it your implementation first, because as you said, program to interface, not an implementation. It means while you directly working with implementation, in the future you're trying to replace some part, you're trying to do some kind of changes, so it's very painful if you doing the just directly using implementation. If you do it this interface, it's more dynamic. I mean, each interface has our own implementation, so maybe you can turn on one implementation, you just replaced one interface of implementation, then check it, this is whether or not work, or somebody, maybe you can figure out one interface implementation has a problem. So it's kind of, you can focus on a small area, you can fix it, then you can keep improve your performance, keep improve your design. So that's advantage. That's when they talk about program to interface, not an implementation. Okay, so that's the kind of principles. Okay, one principles in object-oriented design. You don't have to follow on. If you follow on, it should be good. And then now we trying to explain two things. One is a DAO design pattern, and another is a factory design pattern. Actually use this interface. So what's it? DAO design pattern. What's DAO? It means actually data access object. So usually they closely working with the database level, database layer. So as you said, so in the database layer you store what is database, actually just storing the information. So storing the information, not only the not only one way, not only the one database, there is a many database, of course, except the database also you can able to use in the store in the file also fine. Then sometimes there is a rational database, object-oriented database. There is a difference. So there is a many solution. How you can adapt yourself, adapt your solution, dynamically change in the future. Maybe one your customers using the rational database, the another customer using the object-oriented database. Your another customer maybe using the cloud database, maybe new customer will be coming, they trying to use XML as a storing the information. So there is no way to you can force the customer to using the one database. So what you do is, if you definition is your interface already defined by the interface, then for each customer you just implement one interface, one implementation. Then in the future you can easily to you don't necessarily to change whole part, you just replace the one class only. Maybe your old system is included thousands of class. Now you face the problem that your customers using different database. Now what you do is you just only change one implementation, you just replace one implementation, then you just change one configuration only. So that's a very time saving. You will be more confident in your business or competition, right? There is a typical problem in the DAO pattern. If you let you complete this hold function, which is trying to work with the employee, there must be, of course, first name, ID, get birthday, except that this is information that belong to the employee. There is also, I'm sorry, also has a something kind of method that they will be save the database, delete the database, and then retrieve from database or get all the information from database. There is all of the things, but problem is, how about that if using the DAO pattern? What DAO pattern define that just please split remote your information part, because employee this parts can be used in different layer, but this is database layer should be different. So they split this two part. One is working with the operation with database. They add, delete, update, those things you put it another class. Then this is used defined as a database, defined as an interface. Then this is one of the implementation. What is good that in the future maybe you can implement another implementation, which is maybe this implementation work with memory in order to doing the test. Then in the future maybe there is a MySQL, there is a DB2 such like that. Then you can only replace the one class only. You don't necessary to change other part. That's the good about this DAO pattern. That's only the main things in doing the DAO. So what you did now is they using the one implementation. In the future you will be using the DAO factories, another implementation, but you didn't use any difference. There is only the same, same interface work with. Another kind of factory pattern is actually they make this another kind of another level that make us more redundant space to adapt yourself. So factory give the another layer, just wrapper another layer, so you have able to do some kind of adapter, do some kind of filter. You have a you have a chance to give the interface to other buffer. You can able to implement it. So I think it is all of them. You don't necessary to to digging of these things, but what I'm trying to here is another kind of combination. There is a things sometimes it can be included. This class can be included other part. For example, this is being called composition. This is several class can be composite with together. They create one class. It's also fine. And yes, the same time you can use the interface. You can create more flexible, more flexible to you can create your system design. So that's all about today's topic. Okay, that's part I just want to mention it, but main thing is that you have to understand what is interface. Interface is 100% abstract. You can compare it with abstract class in terms that you need to understand those keyword interface, then also implementation. Interface can be implemented many interface same time, many interface same time. This class, they implemented not only serialized as well as this, then this one. So they implemented many two interface, one class with one implementation of the ambulation car. So it is possible, right? This is kind of give you a open your mind. It's kind of many kind of power of class can be using in the class design. That's all. I hope you have question.